Now Pastor Ralph will take over from Zoom to do the sermon. Thank you.
Thank you, Kathy, and thank you, Michelle, and thank you, Steve, for doing all the worship leading so far this morning. It is good to be connected, as we say at the beginning of the service, with one another while I'm remotely here in Colony. We have been traveling with Job and Job's friends for the last several weeks. It seems that there's been a turnaround in Job's mind and heart and life in the midst of all of his pain and suffering. We remember last week, maybe, that he was confronted with the awesomeness of God and all of God's creation. And we were talking about the Lucy spacecraft flying off into the stratosphere and the universe and beyond. And just imagine for a few minutes how vast the sum of the universe is, and then how tiny each one of our cells are, and that we have, even as the song suggests, and Job realizes, some connection to it all, and a connection to the creator of it all. However that happened, that's kind of really God's problem, not mine. And in the midst of it, you and I, this small group of folks, have gathered together to form a community working with that spirit, that power, and that hope. It was over 200 and almost 25, 30 years ago that a small group of folks gathered up in Kingsborough and said, we believe in God, and we want to be together and practice our faith and live it out. And we today are heirs of that small band of folks who have kept the flame burning and the light shining and the word spoken and the love shared. So as we look around and, you know, there's 10 or 15 or 20 of us, maybe 40 on the rolls, and we think, oh, how small, how tiny, how almost insignificant, easily dismissed. What I think Job is challenging us in this powerful story, and what I want to challenge us with, is that we, tiny though we are mighty and connected. And, you know, I have to say, I've shared this with various committees in the congregation, but I want to share it with everybody that, you know, when the call came over a year ago, this is October, to come as an interim pastor to this little tiny church, looking out on its future, it was the vitality of spirit that I sensed then from the area minister, as well as from the committees, and now from living and working with you almost this whole past year now. That's what I see. So the answer, are there resources? Are we connected to something bigger than we can see? Are we part of something that reaches far back into history and reaches far beyond? I think the answer is resounding yes. Because the epilogue to Job is kind of ties it up really nicely and sounds like a Hallmark movie, but it speaks to, like we did last week, that it's not just about Job. It's about all the people that Job connected with. For a whole economy is restored, a whole set of generations. And whatever we do with Job's 140 years, understand that what he did and the faith he shared had an impact for generations beyond his own. We talk these days in ecology about a seventh generation theory. The things that we do now, what can they do to have a positive impact on 7 generations from now? Things, people we will never meet and we will never know. I've been challenged as I've been studying with you and also in my classes for this Doctor of Ministry in Leadership and Community Engagement about the history of the city and community of Gloversville and Fulton County. And to understand that there's growth happening in our fair city. And it's happening with certainly the senior set and those empty nesters and getting ready for whatever retirement's going to be. There's growth in the single parent families and in young children. There's growth in the number of people who say they believe in God and a spiritual life, but have no connection to an organized church. There's certainly plenty of Roman Catholics, but there are those who believe in Jesus. There's those who believe in the Spirit. There's those who believe that a spiritual life should have an important impact on the community around them. And I'm so excited. I'm very excited about all of you and the way in the last 10 months you have stepped up and stepped out and shared your love of God and love of neighbor in powerful and particular ways through the food bank ministry, which you've been doing for years, through the neighborhood engagement meeting. Some of you have knocked on people's doors and introduced them to our congregation. Do you know how amazingly difficult it is for a pastor or anybody in a basic mainline Anglo church to get people to knock on doors and invite them to church? It's phenomenally impossible, but you've done that. And you've witnessed to people who weren't even sure we were still here and said, yes, we are. You've welcomed new people in the congregation, and we're working on learning how to be enthusiastically hospitable, to welcome people with enthusiastic hospitality, to create this vision. And as we're looking at what to do with our time and talents and finances and energy in the year that lies ahead, I hope you catch on to the vision that there's something more here than meets the eye. And that the past and the future are worth not only preserving, but investing in, and to make a huge difference. That lives really get turned around by the way we live in the moment. As we look at the world with all of its challenges, we can kind of wring our hands and say, wow, things are way too difficult. The problems are too many. The negative voices are too loud. But right, we are called to shine that light in the darkness, that one candle. But there's not one. There's 10 and 15 and 20 and 40. So I am enthused, I'm excited, and I am looking forward to what our investment together can do to build this beloved community that we're inviting others to create with us. I think the wisdom of Job is that we are a tiny little speck in a huge, amazing, powerful universe, and somehow the life force of that universe calls us to join together and work for the good, which is life, which just can't be stopped. Let's grab onto God's resources. Let's share them. Let's commit to them. And let's do abundantly powerful things that the city of Gloversville has never yet seen. And the county of Fulton has not known until we share it. God bless you all. And thank you for being on the journey together. Amen.